Welcome to The Story. I'm Tim Gordon in for Blair Best tonight. We begin with highlights from a one-on-one interview with the outgoing leader of the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project between Portland and Vancouver. It's a tenuous time for that project, and to lose the man who's been in charge of it for the past 5 years plus has critics sounding the alarm of the possibility of another failed Columbia crossing. It is our big story tonight. Well, the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project, or IBR, will finally begin construction next year, or at least that's the plan. It still needs the Coast Guard to sign off on the proposed height of the new bridge. Well, that hurdle saw delays thanks to the government shutdown. And if that approval arrives, the project would still need to finish its long-delayed environmental review and receive the federal green light. There's also a big money question. Right now, IBR has about $5.5 billion in funding lined up and an estimated cost of $6 billion. But that estimate is 3 years old. State lawmakers are expecting a new estimate next month, and given the pace of inflation, it's widely expected to be a lot higher. The next 6 months or so will determine whether IBR can succeed where the Columbia River Crossing project failed back in 2013. Which is why it came as a surprise when Program Administrator Greg Johnson, you see right there, who has led the project since 2020, announced that he plans to step back in December. Anthony Masuk, our transportation expert, sat down with Johnson earlier this week to ask him why he decided to leave and what he says to critics who contend that his departure at this stage signals trouble.
Anthony, I am forever an optimist. I thought we would be in construction by now, but some of the scheduled things are out of our control. We have other partners who control schedules and processes. So we continue to plug along and do smart things to move this program forward to get it into construction.
Johnson's resignation announcement said that he was leaving for personal reasons, so we asked him to expand on that.
It was not an easy decision, but when I came out here, I committed to 3 to 5 years, and it's coming on 5.5. And I've been away from my home. I still have my house in Michigan. All my family is back in Michigan. I have a grandbaby on the East Coast and another one on the way. So those are things that pull at you, that make you say, okay, you've done what you can do out here. It's time to get back closer to family.
Okay, there's the explanation for that. Then Anthony got down to business to help us all better comprehend where things stand on one of the region's largest infrastructure projects and get comfortable because there's a lot to cover here.
Did it make you hesitate at all to be stepping away at this particular time as opposed to just trying to stick it out till construction?
Oh, it was a tough decision to leave this program. I have led this thing through some very tenuous times and through some great successes, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done. But there's always something else. If I would have stayed to then, well, why don't you stay until we get shovel in the ground? Well, why don't you stay until this? And I could have been out here forever.
So, I mean, what do you say to the critics who would suggest that your departure at this stage signals something more? Well,
Anthony, I've heard from folks who said, well, he's afraid of the cost estimate that's going to come out in December. And that's a ridiculous statement. The cost will be what a contractor tells it's going to cost to build this thing. We're putting all of our best thoughts together to go through any risk development, to understand inflation pressures, escalation, potential tariff impacts. All of those things go into determining what we estimate this cost will be. And I am not afraid. I've done this for 42 years, and I've put big numbers out before, and that does not cause me fear or any trepidation. So folks who say that don't understand, number one, they don't understand my makeup and that I've done tremendously tough things in my career. And number two, it just shows that they don't understand the processes that we go through to get to these estimates. And you have to be able to explain, why costs are going up. And I tell folks, just take a look around the country. Look at the mega projects around the country. You see these significant increases all over. And IBR is not immune to that. You know, I'll use your word, the critics, they want to say, well, IBR is doing something wrong and it's not that. It's just no one could have projected the inflationary spiral we've seen since our last estimate.
But what do you do? What are you going to be saying to the DOTs, to the other partners, if this estimate does come back in December and it's, you know, a couple billion higher?
What my words to the DOT and to this region in general is we have enough money to get significant things built on this project. Not starting would be the worst idea. We have to get started because once you get started, that your hedge against inflation and escalation is getting things started. If you keep kicking the can down the road, you will be buried by these inflation and escalation costs. So it's going to be bigger than our previous estimate, no doubt. But the key is get started, get something built, and start finding ways to bring and attract other dollars to this program.
So when you say get started on the stuff up front, what parts of the project would get done first if you're left trying to find more money for kind of the tail end down the road?
So the first thing that you're going to see is the bridge itself. Getting that bridge started, because it's a long, probably 5 to 5.5 years of construction on a bridge of this size and this complexity. So that's going to be the first contract that we will let. Then you have the approaches that tie the bridge back into the existing freeway. That's the next major step. Getting the old bridge taken out, because you're now going to have a forest of piers in the water that would impede traffic, river traffic. So taking the old bridge out. Getting light rail up and running, getting that started is another major step in the process. So all of those things, and that's not the exact sequence, but that's a general sequence that you would see of things that would happen. Every big project, every mega project, someone told me this and I laughed when I heard it, it's a series of near-death experiences. So that's what mega projects do. You roll with the punches, you get back up, you dust yourself off, and you keep running.
So I guess as you step away in December, it's, I don't want to quite say a running joke around here, but just with the CRC before, just how long this has been going on, that just, it's never going to happen, right? We're gonna talk about it till the end of time and never do it. So what do you think the odds are that this is it, that we get into construction hopefully next year, but if not, at least at some point, that this is going to be the time we do it?
Well, Anthony, as I don't have someone from my team to kick me, I have 5.5 billion reasons why this is going to get started.
Okay.
So having that commitment, the partners are serious about getting this bridge underway. And not that they weren't serious the last time, they just didn't have the revenue stream that we have created for this program. So I think you're going to see this program move forward.
I like that, 5.5 billion reasons why. All right, so Johnson's position obviously pretty clear there. There's enough funding to start construction no matter what. But if there is a major budget gap, how do you fill it? Could it mean higher tolls, cutting out some of the later parts of construction? Johnson didn't make either sound very likely.
Tolling is somewhat inelastic at a certain level. If you keep raising tolls, people will find alternative ways of moving. And so you don't want to get to that point where you're chasing people out of direction travel. So the commitment from both DOTs is the commitment to the modified locally preferred alternative. And that is the entirety of the 5-mile corridor. And we've seen projects that take longer times because of funding shortages and things of that nature, constructability issues. So right now, the commitment is to build this entire program. And it may take time. We've seen projects up north in Washington. Some of those corridors have taken 20 years to construct in total. So I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but we have models for how those things have played out.
Now, one of our last questions for Johnson was, you always planned to step away after 5 years, but you also said you hoped to be in construction by then. So if you had to do it again, knowing how the delays would stack up, would you have ever left Michigan in the first place?
Yes, I would. This has been a professional challenge. And like I said, I've worked on other complicated things. I worked on the Gordie Howe Bridge between Detroit and Windsor, Canada, two countries. But this has been that challenge of a lifetime. And no, I have no regrets of coming out here to help shepherd this project forward.
How does the politics compare of two countries versus Portland and Vancouver with the bridge?
That's a great question, Anthony. Personally, the two countries were easier than what we have here, but it is it's been an interesting challenge. And no, I have no regrets about the time that I've spent out here. So my only regret is that I've missed family and the events, and I want to get back closer to that.
What are you most excited about when the bridge is done driving over? What do you think is going to go through your mind?
Well, first off, I will be back. I will come back to walk. I may be in a wheelchair or on a walker going across that bridge, but I will be back to see this bridge being open, because I'll think about the hard times. I'll think about the fun times.
All right, so what do you think about the future of the Interstate Bridge project? Are you optimistic about it happening? Maybe you have thoughts about tolls on the bridge. A lot of people do, which are happening, by the way, if this thing moves forward. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Okay, up next on the story, incredible video from Washington's Salish Sea as a whale watching boat got an unexpected visitor. With iconic predators trailing close behind, the drama is real. You're going to hear from the amateur photographer behind the camera, whose boat became a Salish savior, when the story returns.
I think any Democrat that voted to pass that bill last night should lose the next election. I think they caved, and I think they know damn good and well that the Republicans are not going to live up to their promises.
I think the fact that the Democrats in Oregon did not help to reopen our government is despicable. I think they're intellectually constipated, and what was offered 7 weeks ago is what they got today. So they should really lube up their minds and try to be more flexible.
I think the Democrats and the Republicans need to quit acting like 5-year-olds and take care of America and not just themselves.
Oh my God. Oh, you poor thing. I am shaking right now. He is on board. He is not trying to get on board. He is on our boat.
Oh my gosh, incredible video tonight as a group of friends out whale watching in Washington's Salish Sea inadvertently became rescuers of that harbor seal being hunted by a pod of orcas.
When we got closer to the whales, we noticed that a hunt was occurring because we saw behavior such as tail lobs and porpoising, which sometimes indicates, them hunting something. So we noticed that there was a seal within the photos and the other videos that we were taking. And after about 30 to 40 minutes of them, engaging in hunting or hunting practice with the seal, it had noticed our boat and made a beeline for us.
Wow, those pictures are incredible. The orcas were not far behind at all, and per wildlife boating regulations, the friends cut the engine to prevent any injury to the incoming killer whales. And that little seal took advantage of its newfound life raft. But the orcas were not about to let their meal get away so easily, lining up to create a large wave, trying to rock the boat to knock the seal right back into the water.
No, it fell off.
He fell in?
He fell in. No, stay on, come back.
No, he's directly beneath the engine.
Come on, get back on, get back on. Come on, get back on, come on.
Is he on?
Oh, no, come on, get back on.
I'm definitely team orca all day, every day. But once that seal was on the boat, I kind of turned team seal just because, you have to when it's on your boat.
Wow, the orcas finally gave up and swam away after about 15 minutes. Once the boat was a few hundred yards from shore, then that seal jumped back into the water to live another day. Wow. All right, up next on the story, a family in the state of Washington finally has answers about a loved one lost more than 80 years ago during World War II. How the search for closure stretched across continents and generations. When the story returns. Well, as we prepare to close the book on this week that featured Veterans Day, we head to Walla Walla, Washington. After 8 decades, a woman there has answers about a loved one lost during World War II. When his country asked for help, Howard Holding answered the call. In times of war, so many families give so much. Greg Copeland brings us the story of one family who finally got something back.
Okay, so this is service aboard the Enterprise, which I think is a special one because the Enterprise was such a great carrier in World War II and accomplished so much in the Pacific Theater. But of course, the most poignant of them all would be the Purple Heart. You don't get the Purple Heart unless you're killed in action or wounded in action.
Terry Trick never knew her Uncle Howard.
There's tons and tons of pictures in here of Howard growing up and Howard when he was a kid and even when he was a baby.
But she knows a lot about him.
This is Howard Holding, and his mother, Ida Holding. My brother at 1.5 years. But these are my favorites because they are pictures of him and his family the last time he was home. And he was just about ready to ship out. So it was his last leave before he got on the Enterprise.
That was Thanksgiving, 1943.
He got killed. And he's our family's great tragedy.
According to the National World War II Museum, more than 418,000 Americans were killed during World War II. Nearly 72,000, 17%, are still unaccounted for. Terry's uncle was among them until just recently, when science finally provided some answers. Howard Holding was born in 1922 in Salt Lake City. At the age of 20, he enlisted in the Naval Reserves. After his commission and flight school the following year, he was assigned to Fighter Squadron 20.
There's the squadron. There's the squadron right there. Well, his squadron was called the Jokers.
Fitting for him?
Yeah, their symbol, of course, was the Joker on a deck of cards. I understand he had a great sense of humor and liked to play jokes on my grandmother and my mother.
Holding was stationed aboard the aircraft carrier Enterprise. He spent some time in Hawaii before shipping out.
This is him playing the saxophone in Pearl Harbor when he was stationed there.
But in the summer of 1944, Holding's stage became the Pacific Theater, where he saw plenty of action from the seat of his Hellcat fighter. His final mission came on September 6th over Yap, an island now part of Micronesia, a Japanese stronghold at the time. He was in a 3-plane formation doing recon, not expecting any resistance, and then came the anti-aircraft fire. Another pilot nearby wrote a letter to Holding's mother detailing what happened next.
As I pulled out of my dive, I looked back to see how the rest of the boys were faring. To my dismay, I noticed 2 planes crazily twisting downward vertically. Of course, each plane hit the island with a terrific force and immediately exploded.
Word was sent home via telegram. Holding was missing in action.
My Uncle Howard, Ensign Howard Holding, Ensign Joseph Cox, and Lieutenant Harry Brown. They all lost their lives that same morning.
It wasn't until after the war was over
That this crash site that I went to was Howard's, and that this is parts of Howard's plane here.
that military investigators recovered 4 sets of remains from the island. After some time in storage, the remains eventually made their way to the Philippines. All 4 were buried at the Manila American Cemetery as unknowns in 1950. And that's where they would rest for 70 years, until the military exhumed the remains for DNA testing in 2020.
And I got a call that said, are you Terry Trick?
The man on the other end was Pat Ranfrance. He'd been searching for his own uncle's plane on Yap. That's how he came across Howard's story.
Pat said, you really need to send your DNA to the Navy. And I said, why? They're never going to recover Howard. And he said, you still should send your DNA to the Navy just in case.
She did. And then Terry waited. not really expecting much as the years passed.
I know DNA lasts forever, but I was still wondering if they needed some more or what was going to happen. And it's a good thing that I had done that, because in June, they finally made the identification.
"81 years and 39 days after giving his life for his country, Holding arrived back in Salt Lake City last month. Terry and her son, also a veteran, were there to greet the plane. Howard was laid to rest at the Salt Lake City Cemetery with full military honors. Home at last.
Closure is an overworked word, but I look at it as the family is reading a story for 81 years. And we don't know how it's going to end, but we're reading this story. And then finally we get to the end of it because we find Howard and he comes home. And then we can close the book at the end of the story. So closing the book is closure. And that's the way I look at it.
Not only on Veterans Day, but every day, we thank those like Howard who have served our country, past and present. Well, that's the end of our show. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. I'm back with you on Monday night here on The Story, but in the meantime, hey, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. We'll see you then.